letters in the human speech system. Assalamu alaikum. So, definition of sound first of all. Sound is the vibration of areas perceived by the human ear, okay, and that is 20 to 20,000 vibrations per second. Okay, that is the definition of sound. Okay. It must be perceived by us, that to be sound. And it's the vibration of air. Layers, okay. Now, sounds in nature are four. There's collision, like this, right? Collision. That's between two objects, okay. And that you should note that also they come to one point. Right? They're colliding into one place. Okay, collision. Divergence is separation, basically, of two objects that have cohesive forces between each other. They're attracted to each other. For example, paper, right? I get this envelope. Look, the divergence is like this. That's divergence. Okay, and yeah, vibration is vibration. Like if you have a ruler when you're in school and you flick it on the end, it starts vibrating. And that's you see that in the vocal cords. The vocal cords vibrate. Okay, and friction is, of course, you know all that. Friction is between two objects as well, like this. That's friction. The sound of friction. Yeah. Okay, and it must be two objects between, and one object must be coarse, like rough. Okay. Okay. So definition of a letter is the sound. Now look, sound is what? Vibration of areas perceived by human ear. So definition of a letter is a sound that depends on a specific or approximate articulation point. Okay. I.e., look, approximate articulation point is where there's no exact point of pressure. I.e., if you look at dal, or yeah, dal has a specific point. It's the tip of the tongue with the gum, the gum line next to the teeth. See that? That is specific. But lengthening alif, that has not got a specific point, but it's just empty space. It's empty space. Empty space of the mouth and throat, actually. So, right, dal has a specific point which is known. Alif is from the jof, right? Jof, which is just empty space. So it's not a specific point. It's spread out. It's spread out through the entire empty space of the mouth and throat. Not one specific point, but spread out. So that is approximate, and that will be specific. Okay. Now, letters, how do they occur in the human speech system? Now, there's three types of occurrences that happen within the human speech system. There's the sakin, which is non-voweled letters. Okay. There's the harakat, which is vowel. There's lengthening as well. Lengthening of harakat, right? Lengthening. Okay. Sakin letters. Let's have a look at sakin letters. Sakin letters are emitted by collision. So two objects, what? Coming together like this to one point. Collision of what? Two parts of the speech organ. Like, for example, right? Right? And you can see in the picture, the arrow is pointing inwards to one point. And what are the lips doing? The lips going to the meme has sukun. So you're colliding a meme. Yeah. Good. Now, Harakat, secondly, harakat are emitted by separation of the two speech organs, right? Oops. Yes. And then it's accompanied by the articulation point of the origin of the harakat immediately after. Okay, note what I mean. So, first of all, we don't count the harakat as having their own articulations, of which are 17, as they aren't letters, right? Fatha, Dhamma, Kasra, or Zabr, Zir, Pesh, they aren't letters. So we don't say that they are articulations. Okay, rather they share and originate from the lengthening letters, which are alif, waw, and ya, and they have an articulation point. So we say that they have the articulation point of alif, waw, and ya. Okay, now that's one thing to understand. So yeah, Fatha and Kasra and Dhamma have the articulation of those. Due to separation from the letter to pronounce it, right, the harakat letters. This means that the letter itself has a very short time for which it's touched with that pressure. Ma, ma, ma. Very, very short time. It's almost like half a millisecond. It's just not, there's no time there. Ma, ma, da, ta, ta. Right? So, due to separation, meaning that, actually, look, what are we dealing with right now? We're dealing with two things. We're dealing with what? The articulation point of the origin of the haraka, right? Which is fatha, dhamma, kasra, of alif and ya, and also the separation of the two speech organs. So we're dealing with the articulation point of the letter itself. The letter maybe, for example, meme. So the two speech organs here would be the two lips. That's one articulation point. That's one. Then we're dealing with another articulation point, second one, which is the origin of the haraka, right? Origin of the haraka immediately after. What is it? What? Like the articulation of alif, waw, ya. Since we have two, we're separating from meme to this second one. Meme to alif. Ay fatha. Ma, ma, ma. For that reason, we can't stay on meme. It has to be short and you have to separate from meme to go to alif. Alif articulation. You can't just say and forget meme. Where's meme then? You have to see. Then you can't say meme on its own and then forget alif. Mm, mm, mm. No, then where's fatha? But you can't say them both at the same time either. Look, you can't say meme and you can't say fatha at the same time. So therefore, you must separate from meme to get fatha. Ma, 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 ma. For that reason, there's separation because there's two articulations, right? There's two articulations. For that reason, there's separation. And that means that the meme itself, or the letter for which we're articulating, is very, very short in this time period. Okay? So if you hear someone saying, ma, that's completely wrong. Don't say ma, ma, no. Ma, ma, ma. Not ma. Don't do that. That is colliding. And you're prolonging the sound. So don't do that. No prolonging. Separation is the way to pronounce the letter. Ma. Only by separation. Not by staying there. No. Ma. Only ma. That's how you do harakat. Zabazirbish. Okay. The letters. Okay. Now, the third type of letter, or the third type, of ways that letters are emitted through the human speech system is what? Vibration. Lengthened letters, Lengthened letters. which are emitted by a vibration of the vocal cords. Okay, sorry, it's a sticker. Vibration of vocal cords accompanied by what? Okay, accompanied by three things depending on what you're articulating. Lengthening letters, if you remember, are three: alif, waw, and ya. So if it's alif, then it's accompanied by opening the mouth while the tongue is at rest, as seen in the photo. The tongue is at rest, straight, rest, at rest position. Nothing else is moving. The mouth is not smiling. No, not wrong. Common mistake is that people do this because you want to make it feel or sound like an Arab, but no, these are Arabs of today that are doing mistakes. You don't do meh. No, that's strainful. You're moving something you're not supposed to move. Strain, no strain. Just keep your mouth natural in its natural shape. Nah, nah. And all you're moving is the jaw down. This jaw. Don't move the back of the mouth. Here. Don't move. And don't open that like this. Just do it from here, in front. Move the jaw down. Okay? Simple. Very simple. So train it to be simple. So that is alif, right? Then there's waw, okay? And the lengthening is waw. So that is how, by circling the lips to a full circle, protruding outwards, right? While raising the back of the tongue, and that happens naturally. You don't do it on purpose. And it's a full circle. So look at the picture here. It's a full circle, just like this. Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay. So vibration of vocal cords plus the circle. And now you should note that dhamma or waw is like a tunnel. It's treated like a tunnel. When you're making a sound, you should hear the sound of the tunnel because you're making a tunnel. You're making a tunnel for the sound to go through. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay? Common mistake is that either people do this, ooh, like they're pressing their lips down, right, inwards. Ooh, ooh, wrong. Or they just don't do it out at all, or they just like ooh, 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 ooh. The lips are like this, and they're only raising the back of the tongue. You need to do both. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That's how you get the tunnel sound, and that's what you're looking for. That's how you do dhamma, and that's how you release strain. Because if you do dhamma without doing the lips, it gets mixed up with other letters and other harakat as well. There's no separation, and there's no space, and things get claustrophobic. So that leads to strain, and you will see that in practice, inshallah. C is what? The mad letter ya was obviously lowering the jaw and raising the middle of the tongue. E, E. Okay. Now, you can actually look for the middle of the tongue if you don't know it, because most don't know how to find the middle of the tongue by listening like this. Look, listen to me. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's the middle of the tongue. Now lift that. E, E, E. Okay. Now, note, this is not the articulation of the lengthening letters, but it's just the way the letter occurs in human speech. What? Look, we're talking about all of these. The articulation is not the vibration of the vocal cords and for the lengthening letters, nor is it the shape of the mouth, right? For lengthening letters. Rather, the articulation for lengthening letters is actually the pressure point and the pressure point here is empty space. So the articulation point is what? The pressure of the letter. Okay, look at that. So articulation of what lengthening letters is empty space of the throat and mouth. The mouth is in blue. Oh, sorry, the mouth is in green and the throat is in blue. The jove is called empty space of the mouth throat. That's because the focus on pressure is on empty space and pressure is not focused on the vocal cords. If I was to do that, for example, that's me focusing my pressure on the vocal cords. That's wrong. So don't focus pressure on the vocal cords. Common mistake is that you don't focus pressure properly in the empty space, and you're straining because you're focusing pressure somewhere else. You might be smiling, like you might be doing other things, or you might be doing and you're focusing pressure on the back of your mouth or the vocal cords lightly, which degrades the sound. You must focus on the empty space to get the full sound. Right? So pressure is not focused on the vocal cords, nor is it on the middle of the tongue or the lips for lengthening letters. And middle of the tongue for what? Yeah, and lips for what? Wow, the lengthening ones though, because yeah itself, yeah, the actual letter, which is not a mad letter, is a focus with the pressure on the middle of the tongue, and wow is a focus on the pressure of the lips. Ooh, wow, wow, wow. That's wow. But for mad letters, the focus is not there, and the pressure is not there. It's an empty space. Or, for example, look hear the difference. E, e, oo, oo, oo. That's the difference. If you change the pressure point. So these lengthened letters, the pressure point is where? Empty space. Look at the difference here of the lengthened letters, their shape. Their shape is what defines their sound. You might be thinking, how is it they sound different if they all form the same pressure point? Because of the shape. Like Play-Doh. If you put Play-Doh through a circle, the circle will cut it, and only the circle will come out. Right? Even though the Play-Doh is the same Play-Doh, the pressure of I'm applying is the same. The pressure I'm applying is the same. But the Play-Doh comes out in that shape, just like the tunnel I made. The tunnel I made for wow, I make a tunnel. The shape I make for yeah, the mad letter yeah, makes that sound. Okay, shapes the sound. It shapes the air, but it doesn't put pressure there. That's the difference. It shapes the air. Okay, good. Now, attention. These letters, mad letters, are in contrast to the rest of the alphabet and the non-lengthening wow and ya, which are ascribed to the original articulation, which circling the lips, raising the tongue, as the pressure on the lips or the tongue is more, as basically what I described before. So, wow and ya, their pressure is on the lips or the tongue, right? But the lengthening wow, we're talking about non-lengthening. Non-lengthening wow is what? But lengthening wow, which we described above, right, is on, the pressure is on the lips. And the pressure for ya is on the tongue. Okay? That's what it's saying here. So, another attention. Harakat are short mad letters, as I've mentioned before. Fatha is a short alif. Dhamma is a short waw, lengthening waw. And kasra is a short lengthening ya. Okay? Lengthening ya. That's important because it's not non-lengthening ya. Okay? For example, look. O, e, e. Okay? Note that lengthening letters ra, ra. Wow. That looked like I was reading that. The lengthening letters of wow and ya refer to the ones that are followed by their similar haraka. See? So lengthening letters are lengthening letters. They lengthen the sound of Dhamma, for example, and they lengthen the sound of Kasra, right? So the lengthened letters refer to those letters of Waw and Ya that come after their similar haraka. I.e., for example, Waw, the lengthened Waw, is followed by Dhamma, because Dhamma is a short Waw. So, U, right? U, and what? I. If it's not followed by the similar haraka, and they're not sukoon, by the way, if this has not sukoon, then it's not a lengthening letter. Okay? Right, now there are the questions. See you in the next one.